Perfection. The word itself sounds holy, but perfection is a mirage. The false oasis of the fearful man. He walks toward it, thirsty for control, dying for certainty. Yet the closer he moves, the further it retreats. Perfection is not mastery. It is paralysis wearing a crown. The unsuccessful man mistakes stillness for wisdom. He calls hesitation strategy. He calls avoidance patience. He worships timing, not motion. And while he waits for perfect, the world passes him by. Perfection is movement withheld. It is divine potential, chained by fear. Improvement, though? Improvement is the universal law. It's what everything alive obeys. Stars explode to be reborn brighter. Rivers carve new paths. Skin heals. Minds adapt. The successful man speaks the language of improvement. He knows progress is made by motion with intent. He doesn't need a perfect plan. He builds one through repetition. He doesn't need perfect conditions. He creates them through action. Because improvement is the worship of motion. Perfection is the worship of pride. Every failure is feedback. Every correction is calibration. He moves, he learns, he sharpens. That's the law of improvement. The man who honours it becomes unstoppable. A traveller once met 3 men laying bricks. He asked the first, "What are you doing?" "I'm laying bricks," said the man. He asked the second, "I'm building a wall." But the third smiled and said, "I'm raising a cathedral." That third man, that's the successful man. He sees beyond the moment. He knows every brick, every act of consistency builds something eternal. He stops forcing perfection and focuses on consistency. Because progress isn't sculpted, it's layered. He is the bricklayer of his own life. Each block is an act of faith, a declaration that one day his fortress will stand. He doesn't wait for the weather to clear. He doesn't wait for motivation. He lays the brick every single day. The perfectionist never lays one. He waits for the wind to stop. He waits for certainty, for calm, for clarity. He waits his whole life and dies surrounded by unused bricks. His mind, a construction site of hesitation, a palace of plans never built. The consistent man works through rain, through wind, through doubt. He doesn't curse the storm, he adjusts his grip. Every repetition strengthens his hands. Every act of effort reinforces his foundation. Discipline is the trowel. Consistency is the mortar. Faith is the blueprint. By the time the perfectionist redraws his plans for the 100th time, the consistent man already stands inside a fortress, built from ordinary days done extraordinarily well. He doesn't dream of castles. He becomes one. Picture two men on the same ground. One waits for perfect weather. The other starts now. The storm hits. One hides. The other learns. When the sun returns, one man has a foundation. The other, just an excuse. That's life. The storm isn't punishment. It's preparation. Discipline and resilience, they're siblings. Born of the same parent. Accountability. Raised in the same house. Repetition. Discipline moves you forward. Resilience keeps you moving when it hurts. They grow together, or they die together. Inside every man is a private ledger, a record of promises he made to himself. Each time you break one, you write a new line under doubt. When life tests you, those lines glow like scars. I can't trust myself. I always fail. I'm not enough. Not because you lack strength, but because you lack evidence. Resilience isn't found in the moment of the challenge. It's built in the moments before. It's built in silence, in small acts, in the small acts done when no one is watching. Each time you keep your word, you deposit proof. And proof builds belief. Belief is compound interest on discipline. You want resilience? Start small. Finish what you start. Show up when you say you will. Each small victory lights the fire of faith inside you. Each repetition thickens your armor. Resilience isn't the absence of pain. It's the refusal to surrender your identity to it. Discipline builds the fortress. Resilience defends it when the gates are struck. A man who cannot be trusted with the small things will never be trusted with the big things. The universe is a silent accountant. It watches your habits, not your hopes. It weighs every repetition. It remembers every promise. It will not hand you empires if you cannot master mornings. It will not reveal purpose if you cannot master repetition. Every kingdom begins in the mundane. When you can be trusted in private, life begins to trust you in public. Before command, consistency. Before mastery of others, mastery of self. Before empire, evidence. Discipline whispers first in the ordinary, long before it ever roars in the extraordinary. There is a courtroom in the mind of the perfectionist. Every action stands accused of being not enough. He is the judge, the jury, and the executioner. He cross-examines every attempt. He sentences every failure. He spends his life arguing with himself instead of acting. The successful man once stood in that courtroom too. But one day, he walked out mid-sentence. He stopped begging for permission. He began building his own court, one where evidence outweighs emotion. Progress does not need approval. It needs effort. Perfection builds statues. Discipline builds legacies. Once, there were two painters. One waited for the perfect light, the perfect pigment, perfect mood. The other worked by lantern, trembling hands, uncertain strokes. When the unveiling came, the first painter stood beneath a blank ceiling, the second beneath a masterpiece, imperfect, alive, human. People wept, not for flawlessness, for truth. Because art, like life, doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. Discipline is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the furnace that refines gold from ore. Every repetition is another pass through that fire. Weak men flee that heat. Strong men walk in willingly. They do not panic when life ignites. They have already burned voluntarily. The disciplined have rehearsed the fire. Think of resilience as currency. Every act of persistence deposits into the account of destiny. Every endurance earns influence. Each avoidance accrues debt. You cannot fake record. The universe checks receipts. It remembers the mornings you rose, the promises you kept, the tasks you finished. When it's time to grant stewardship of greater things, it audits your history. Resilience and discipline are credentials, the signature and the contract between you and creation. Faith is scaffolding. It lets you build while plaster is still wet, while others wait for certainty. You swing the hammer in the dark because movement invites the light. The universe rewards the builder, not the observer. And then there is the perfect man. He polishes his image until you can only see himself. He surrounds his success with glass, but glass keeps out air. He suffocates in the museum of his own making. Perfection, once achieved, becomes mausoleum. Meanwhile, the improving man wakes curious. He stays alive through incompleteness. He knows it's not arrival that gives meaning, it's motion. There comes a morning when every man meets his reflection. The perfectionist polishes it. The builder breaks it. Not to destroy, to let light through the cracks. Perfection closes you. Improvement opens you. Years pass. The bricklayer's fortress stands. Rain-stained, scarred, beautiful. People call it a masterpiece. He calls it another Tuesday. Because greatness was never a moment. It was a method. He built his cathedrals through ordinary days repeated with extraordinary discipline. And that was enough. There is a strange courtroom in the mind of every perfectionist. Every action stands accused of being not enough. Every attempt is cross-examined. Every idea put on trial. He is the judge, the jury, and the prisoner. When he acts, he doubts. When he speaks, he apologizes. When he plans again. He spends a lifetime defending the right not to begin. The successful man sat in that courtroom too. He knows the echo of self-judgment. He knows the coldness of hesitation. But one day he stood, mid-sentence, and walked out. He no longer seeks permission from perfection. He seeks progress through proof. He builds his own courthouse, where action is the only testimony that matters. Progress doesn't need a lawyer. It needs a labourer. He stops worshipping the fantasy of flawlessness and starts practicing the discipline of motion. Because the man who moves learns, and the man who learns becomes. Perfection promises comfort. Discipline delivers transformation. Once, 2 painters were hired to restore a ceiling. The first waited for the perfect day, the perfect brush, the perfect mood. The second arrived before dawn, by lantern, unsure, trembling, but ready. He painted every morning, sometimes wrong, sometimes right, but always moving. When the unveiling came, the first painter stood beneath an untouched ceiling, surrounded by sketches and excuses. The second stood beneath a sky of colour, brushstrokes visible, flaws alive. The crowd wept, not for perfection, but for truth. Because art doesn't demand perfection, it demands presence. Discipline is not punishment, it is refinement. It is the fire that burns away the unnecessary. Weak men hide from that heat. Strong men enter willingly, knowing that every degree of discomfort removes a layer of limitation. You can tell who has lived inside the furnace. Their calm is heavy, their movements deliberate. They have learned that pain is only resistance leaving the body of potential. They are forged, not frightened. Disciplines and resilience together create the man who cannot be broken. Resilience is the armour of the disciplined. Discipline is the hammer of the resilient. They feed one another endlessly. Think of resilience as currency. Every act of endurance deposits value in the vault of destiny. Each avoidance, each excuse, withdraws from it. Life is the fairest banker there is. It honours consistency, not charisma. It rewards those who pay their dues in daily proof. The universe does not grant empires to dreamers. It leases them to doers. And the rent is discipline, paid daily, never late. Faith is the scaffolding that lets you build in darkness. It's what allows you to keep hammering when sight fails. The perfectionist prays for clarity before moving. The disciplined man moves, and clarity appears. Because faith is not seeing and believing. Faith is doing and then seeing. And then comes the perfect man, the man who believes he's arrived. He polishes his image until it blinds him. He frames his past so tightly that nothing new can enter. He builds glass walls around his identity. But glass breaks, and when it does, he finds only emptiness inside. Perfection, once achieved, becomes prison. Comfort becomes coffin, and certainty, his silent executioner. The improving man, though, he still wakes with questions. He sees himself as an unfinished symphony. That incompleteness keeps him alive. He does not guard perfection. He cultivates potential. He does not collect applause. He collects repetitions. He does not chase a rival. He celebrates becoming. There comes a morning when every man faces his reflection. One polishes, one shatters. The perfectionist wipes the mirror, hoping the world will look smoother when his own image does. The builder lifts the hammer and breaks it so that the light can enter through the cracks. Perfection closes you, improvement opens you. And through those cracks, the soul breathes. Years pass. The bricklayer's fortress stands. Weather-stained, cracked, alive. People call it flawless. He laughs. He knows every imperfection by name. They see a masterpiece. He sees a Tuesday. Because greatness was never a moment. It was a method. Every morning, another brick. Every day, another inch toward eternity. His walls are testimony to a single truth. Ordinary done well becomes extraordinary. Discipline is the fuel of empires. Improvement is the current of creation. Consistency is the proof of faith. Resilience is the crown forged by both. Perfection? Perfection is the lie that keeps the capable asleep. Do not wait. Do not seek. Do not stall. The sun rises crooked on the horizon, yet lights the world all the same. The tide crashes unevenly, yet sculpts the continents. Why demand of yourself more symmetry than the cosmos? Lay the brick, keep the word, build the fortress. And when the storm comes, smile. It was never the enemy. It was the training ground. The perfectionist seeks paradise without pressure. The successful man finds paradise through it. Because he knows the universe itself is unfinished, and those who keep building, even in the rain, are the hands through which creation continues. So when the voice says, not yet, not ready, not perfect, smile. That is the ghost of the old architect. Tell him, I'm not seeking perfect. I'm practicing eternity. Then pick up your tools, lay your brick, live your proof, and let the fortress rise.